Hi, my name is Susan Rushton and this is Olio. I need, before I go any further, to explain what Olio means. It's short for olla podrida, which is Spanish for rotten bowl, which I just always get such a kick out of. It's a Spanish-Portuguese dish with essentially everything in the world in it. Pork in all its iterations, bacon, sausage, pig's ears, as well as chicken, chickpeas, cabbage, what else? Carrots, beans, and of course onions and garlic. As I said, everything in the world except turnips and bamboo shoots. That's one definition. Another definition is that olio is what comes in between acts of a melodrama. So you might have somebody juggling, you might have somebody singing, you might have somebody doing a skit, and it has nothing to, those three things have nothing to do with each other, and they have nothing to do with the melodrama. So in other words, it's apples, oranges, and a monkey wrench. So welcome to my monkey wrench. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here. I am thrilled to introduce to you a woman who I have previously introduced to you several years ago. This is Linda Yaffe. Thank you for joining me, Linda.
Thank you, Susan. Pleasure to be here.
Great. I'm glad you're here. And she is president of the Literacy Support Council of Placer County, which means she's deeply involved in people who want to read and want to read better. And that's just a vital thing for everybody. People need to read, and people should read, and people will be delighted to read, thrilled. And so if you are interested in learning how to read better, or you know somebody who is interested in learning to read, please contact her. LSC, this is her email, lscplacer@yahoo.com. And if you are interested in the Literacy Support Council of Placer County, givingedge.org/LSCPC. And she's also involved with, and the Literacy Support Council is responsible for the Placer Adult Literacy Services, right? No?
No, the Literacy Support Council is a 501c3 charity.
Okay.
Years ago in 1985, all of the libraries in Placer County, each county library, was given a grant by the state library for seed money to start a literacy program. So that throughout California, people could come in and get help from volunteers. So it was a relatively inexpensive program. You coordinate the program, you train the volunteers, and then 5 years later, the grant ended.
Oh.
Just before the grant ended, Dorothy Sanborn, the far-seeing librarian at that time, went to a group of volunteer tutors and said, look, we want to continue this wonderful program. Can you register as a 501c3 charity, Literacy Support Council, so that you can buy the materials that help adults learn to read, and buy materials for children so that family literacy can keep on going. When you think about it, libraries are literacy. Story times, that's literacy. You know, the materials, it's all literacy, right?
Yes.
I think of education as a giant, strong platform, but it's sitting on boulders, and those boulders are literacy. If you can't read and write, you can't progress farther, right?
True.
It affects you, your family, your community,
your children.
The United States. I mean, trillions of dollars a year are spent on people who can't read because they end up in jail, they're on welfare of various kinds. It's so sad.
Yeah.
So we are affected all of this.
Yeah.
It's not only the misery of not being able to read, but everyone in your life feels that misery too.
And so reading, it's not just because reading is fun.
Although that's a big slice of the pie.
yeah. It's because it's vital for your life.
It is. If you can't read the instructions on that prescription pill bottle the doctor gave you,
Yeah.
right? It can kill you.
Yes.
Lack of literacy skills can kill you.
Yes, yes. Really. Yeah. And so it's not, so I asked you before we started that this is not the people you get who want to learn to read or want to learn to read better are not only people who for whom English is their second language.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
It's everybody.
It's everybody.
Yeah.
And some people come to the library for help, and it's hard to even admit that you need reading help.
Oh yeah,
But
I can
you
imagine.
can say, I can read, but my spelling isn't very good. So, and then once you start working with them, you realize that reading is a problem as well.
The people who help understand.
Absolutely.
They're not going to. No.
Oh, no.
Get out.
No.
No.
We totally understand.
Yes.
I've known so many people. It's shocking how many people have dyslexia.
Oh yeah.
Oh my heavens, it's not their fault. They can't
No,
help it.
no.
They struggled through school and now they're really feeling the problem.
I had, when I was in 7th grade, I did not have dyslexia, but our teacher, who hated girls and was also very angry at boys, he would say, "Don't give me that. Of course you can read. Of course you do that. This is a B and it starts here, not here." And he just was not a happy camper, and neither was I.
Wrong career.
Yes.
Eek.
And so dyslexia is reading words backwards, right? Or so forth, something like that?
I have a good friend. I knew her for decades before I found out she had dyslexia because I'd lend her a wonderful novel and then she'd want to talk about it afterwards. And she'd say, I really like that character Janie. And so I just assumed she was reading the whole book. But according to her, when she looked at the page, she was only seeing some of the words, not all of them. So she was a very intelligent gal. She'd fill in the rest.
Oh.
What a life.
Oh, yeah.
She came to PALS and got some help.
Good.
Yeah. There's no cure for dyslexia, but you can find coping mechanisms.
Good. Okay. So, how long have you been involved with this?
I've been tutoring for the county PALS program since 1999.
Wow.
But I didn't become involved with the support council until I retired, which was 16 years ago. So
but
it's been a long history.
Yeah. And what drew you to it?
Well, I can't imagine not being able to read. And I was so shocked to realize
that so many
you don't
people
think about it, right?
Yeah.
But once you learn how many people have a problem and how it's devastating them and their families.
Sure. Yeah.
It's such an easy fix. If you can read, you can teach someone else to read.
Yes.
The workbooks, you get a teacher's workbook and one for the learner, and if you can read, you can help them.
Okay. So how does this work? If you want to learn to read, what do?
You go to any Placer County library. Any Placer County library. Walk in the door, go to the desk, and say, I need some help reading and writing.
Okay.
And they will help you. You can also call any Placer County library and say, I need help with reading or writing. And so it's very simple now. It's not just one literacy coordinator throughout the library. They have staff at every single library who has been trained to help people with this and sit down kindly with them, get more information, interview them.
Yeah.
Then the library will then pair that person with a volunteer tutor like me who will meet with them at a time and a place that's convenient for both of them. So, people who can't read have a million other jobs. They've got so many worries. They've got bills to pay. They have several different jobs. They don't have a car.
They need to cook.
Oh, good heavens. So we need to be flexible.
Yes.
Some tutors and learners meet at a coffee shop. Some meet at the libraries where there are nice nooks and crannies.
Yes.
I like the library because it's a wonderful opportunity for them to get a free library card.
Yes, and there
So
are all these
exciting.
books. Oh my!
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. But
So-
it could be anywhere.
Yeah. So there are people who need to learn to read, and there are also people who need to help them learn to read.
That's correct.
What about that? How do you, if you are a book lover and think you want to, she's holding up
Same
something.
information. You can contact any Placer County library
If you want to do
if
this.
you want to do this, or you can phone any Placer County library, or you can directly contact the PALS coordinator who is at the Rockland Library.
Okay.
You send them an email, pals@placer.ca.gov, or you can phone him at the Rockland Library, 916-624-3133. Tony Carmack is an award-winning librarian. We just love him so much. The children adore him. He wears his Dr. Seuss Cat in the Hat, striped hat frequently, and
Okay.
people love him. So he's a very calming presence
Oh,
for
wonderful.
people.
And you said PALS.
PALS.
That's Placer.
Adult Literacy Service.
Yes.
And it's a great acronym because you really do get a pal.
Yeah.
You get a pal. Somebody who will meet with you once a week for about an hour and a half. Someone who will listen to your problems and try to help you.
Oh, that sounds.
Don't we all need that?
Yes, I need it, and I can read. Yes. And why did you get involved, Linda?
Well, I've always taught people my whole life. I've taught painting, drawing, dance, piano. I love working with people. And this was a wonderful opportunity as an adult to continue that tradition of teaching in a nice, calm, one-on-one,
Yes.
simple manner.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
It's wonderful to be able to titrate your attention just on that one person. How do they learn? Do they learn by hearing? Do they learn by writing? Some people are very tactile, and those Scrabble squares on the table are just what they need because they need to use their hands and their eyes to bring those letters together to
Okay.
understand the sound of them.
Okay. So what might not have worked for them at school
Correct. Exactly.
because one person was teaching several people. There's one person teaching one person, and the person who's teaching wants to do it well,
That's right.
wants to have it happen,
Yes.
and so they work together.
That's right.
Oh, neat.
It's neat, yes, it is. It's very creative and very fun.
Good. So I would like to know. One of the questions I want to ask is I'd like to hear a positive story that
Oh,
you
God.
can tell.
Oh.
You have several.
Oh, I have many, but let me tell you about Lewis.
Okay.
Lewis is retired now. He's an elderly gentleman, getting up in years. He worked hard all his life. He worked harder than you ever worked. He worked harder
I
than
don't
I
work
ever
very
worked.
hard.
I
I just
know
do
this.
lots of
this
stuff.
Well, he worked even harder because he couldn't read.
Yeah.
So every day was a fake show. He'd go to work. Could you read this for me? I've forgotten my glasses. His supervisor would give him something to review. He'd say, I'm going to take this home and I'll get back to you later.
Okay.
There were a million excuses. Often people who can't read are very clever people because they've had to pretend
Yes.
all their lives.
Yeah.
So Lewis, he just struggled through work and finally he retired and now he's at home. He's slumped in an easy chair in front of the TV and he's out of excuses. He had been telling his children lies all those years.
Oh.
They'd say, Dad, I need help with this homework. Can you sit down with me?
I'm tired.
And he'd say, my eyes are
Ask your
tired.
mother.
Ask your mother.
Yeah.
Exactly. There are a million excuses, but now he had nothing to do
Yeah.
and no more excuses.
Uh-huh.
And here comes his little toddler granddaughter. She's got a book. She comes toward him. "Read to me, Grandpa." That was when he decided to get help.
Wow.
And he did. It's never too late. I mean, think of that. And you're in your 60s, he's got another 20 years of a more enjoyable
At
life
least.
ahead of him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so what did he do? Where did he live, for one thing?
He's in this area. I won't
Okay.
tell you too many
No,
details about
no.
him, but he went to PALS and
Okay.
he got help.
Yeah.
Without embarrassment, because he was one-on-one, not in a classroom where you're called on and you don't know the answer. It's so different when you're just meeting someone personally, sitting down with them once a week.
Yeah.
You have a normal conversation. How are you doing? What's new? Then you get out the workbook and you just start moving along with simple things. These books are great because they've got beautiful photographs and very few words. People can almost immediately start reading these with a little bit of help. And if you are a Spanish speaker, you flip this book over, and here's the same book in Spanish. So you can keep going back from English to Spanish and get the whole story. I love these too because they often have an ethical dilemma.
Okay.
So at the end of the story, you can have a wonderful comprehension discussion. What would you do? Did he do the right thing, or would you do something else? So it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Comprehension is often a very big problem. I've had learners who could read quite well, but they didn't really understand what they were reading. So,
Okay.
yeah. Comprehension is
All right.
a big part of literacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, making good choices, right?
Yes. Okay, we're talking about people who need to learn to read, who have, and this gentleman that you just spoke to learned to read.
Yes, he did.
What about the people who want to help? How does that go?
Well, people who want to volunteer
Can.
can call the Rockland Library at 916-624-3133 or email pals@placer.ca.gov, and that will get you directly to PALS. The training is online. It's an excellent state of California training. Highly recommend it. Wonderful for anyone, because you start to understand how people learn differently, which is important.
Yeah.
You know, rather than pounding something that doesn't fit into them, you can understand, oh, they do better hearing about it rather than seeing it or whatever.
All right.
So the training is excellent. You take the training and then you become a volunteer and you're paired with someone and you meet with them at a time that works for both of you.
Yeah.
Easy as that.
Now this is volunteer, right?
This is volunteer
Okay.
with Placer County.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And I see you support your library.
Yes.
And volunteer Placer County
This is my
Library.
PALS volunteer
Yeah.
badge.
And Linda walks around all the time with this stuff on,
right.
wherever she goes.
That's right.
And people ask.
People ask, and here's the amazing part, Susan. People will say, oh, yes, I love the library, but they aren't content to leave it at that. They have to tell me, my dad took me to the library every Saturday. It was the highlight of my childhood. Now I take my grandson every Saturday. It's so emotional. It's so personal.
Yes. 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 And that comment is referring to people who think, oh, this is the 21st century. What do we need libraries for? Well, let me tell you. It's vital. It's a comfortable place to be.
That's right.
It's a vital place to be. It's where the books that you might want to, that you never even heard of.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a treasure trove.
Yes.
And the programs. You have a program at the library.
I have a program.
I have a Tai Chi program at the library,
Yes.
so you can do the arts, you can do physicality, all at the library, and it's all free.
Yes.
Open to everyone.
Yeah. Yes. And it's terribly important.
Yes, indeed.
When you you clearly have spoken to other people, other organizations about this. Do you get people saying, no, this is silly, or no, why would we do that? What's the matter with why don't they just go back to school?
I do hear this occasionally. How did they get through school? Well, you've probably read the story or heard about it. The teacher who couldn't read.
No, no,
He got
I haven't.
all the way through school, got his teaching credential somehow,
Yeah.
and finally learned to read after a number of years in front of a classroom.
Good grief.
It can happen. People, as I say, who can't read are often very, very clever.
Yeah.
I mean, Luciano Pavarotti couldn't read music.
Oh, goodness.
I know, but he was very intelligent,
Yes.
and he memorized it by hearing it. So people slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe, but it's true.
So I'm anticipating. I'm convinced that this teacher who didn't know how to read was already brilliant, and now that teacher is
he's
even
totally in
brillianter.
demand. Yes.
Wow. Okay. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you here a couple of years ago, but because of COVID, that was the library stopped doing that. The libraries stopped doing that, and so you said there were over 100 learners.
That's right. That's right. So now we're just starting to get back.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you about another program. I mean,
Good.
when people hear about PALS, they think about the individual tutors, which is wonderful and a backbone of the program. But I want to tell you about a new program that started at Placer County Jails called the Parent and Child Connection. Because nearly everyone in jail struggles with reading, as we were talking about earlier. So, the Placer County Jail started this new program in tandem with the library, and we, the Literacy Support Council, bought the children's books for this program. So that's where some of your dollars go if you contribute to Literacy
Thank you.
Support Council. Yes, indeed. We bought hundreds of gorgeous new children's books at all levels, from preschool on up through teen. So the inmates in jails here choose one of these books. They're also given instructions by the literacy coordinator about how to read to a child, because some of them don't really realize that. So they've got the tips for reading. They're recorded, video recordings of them reading the book and showing the pictures to their child. Then the book and the recording are sent home to their child. So far, 10 children have received recordings of their parent
And there
reading
could
a
be
book
more.
to them, and there will be many, many more.
Good.
Yes, so these kinds of programs are very meaningful.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah, real sense of pride in
Oh,
being
yeah,
able to
yeah.
contribute.
Yes. Yes. So how many? You say that there were over 100 learners.
Yes.
Are there more learners now? Are there more? Do you have enough volunteers? No.
We never have enough learners or volunteers.
Okay.
People who need help can come to any Placer County library, go to the desk and ask for help. Or they can call any Placer County library, come to the desk and ask for help. Or they can contact the Rockland Library, where the literacy coordinator is housed now, 916-624-3133, or email pals@placer.ca.gov.
Okay. Yeah. And this seems like a really fabulous, it doesn't seem like, it is a really fabulous organization. And if you are interested in being involved, either as a person who doesn't think they read quite well, or think you think you could improve yourself, or if you think you have some time, an hour and a half perhaps a week.
That's the typical amount of time that we spend with a learner.
Yeah.
An hour isn't enough. 2 hours starts to be too much. 1.5 hours a week, you can help someone change
Sure.
their life.
Yes, and meet somebody and become a friend.
That's
and
exactly
yeah,
right.
that's
Right.
vital.
That's right.
And last Thanksgiving, I had some family people here with us, and one of them brought a friend, and he's 35, and he works and he reads, and that's about all he does. And he told me for some reason that he didn't like himself very much, and I thought about how there were times when I didn't like myself very much. That was before I give blood.
Yes.
That was before I do silver screen classic movie series at the Auburn Library. That was before I belonged to Auburn AUW. That's before I did all this stuff. I started out. Do you give blood? No. That's all he does, though, is work and read. It's fine that he reads and fine that he works, but if he doesn't do anything for anybody else.
Why are you here? If you're not giving back, why are you here?
Yeah.
No wonder he's sad.
Yes, and it was really obvious to me that that's one reason, because I do all these things. I don't have time to feel grim about myself. Look what I do. Look what I do.
Right.
I do this and this and this, and I'm thrilled, and I get to thrill other people. And specifically, if you help somebody, if you want to help somebody, you're doing something terrific for yourself if you help somebody.
That's right.
It's being selfish. That's all right.
That's right.
If you'd be selfish that way, if you help somebody and feel good about it, that's fabulous. So, I am really thrilled that Linda Yaffe has been with me. I've interviewed her a couple of other times earlier on, and I'm glad that you could come back. I'm glad that COVID stopped. I'm glad that the library system brought this back. Thank you, library system. And Linda, I'm thrilled that you came back. Thank you. And if you're interested, please log on to contact lscplacer@yahoo.com.
We'd love to have you at our meetings. We meet every other month, only 6 times a year, and we meet on Zoom.
Okay.
And it's so much fun. So
Good.
just contact us. We'd love to have you join us and meet our little group of happy people.
Yes.
We are. We get
Happy
a lot
people
of
who
laughs
help
and,
others.
We're a happy little group.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Linda. Thank you very much.
Susan.
And thank you. I'll see you later.